This is the Aftermarket Radio Network.
Welcome to another episode of Speak Up Effective Communication, the show on the Aftermarket Radio Network aimed at developing communication and leadership skills for all of our listeners. With me once again today, thank you so much for being here, Evan Wisner, friend of the show, friend of mine, and EQ expert. I keep saying EQ expert. I don't know if this is the best way to introduce you, but we're going to be talking about how to introduce ourselves with our credentials and our expertise, because today's topic is imposter syndrome. And it's a fun topic. And it is a thing that everybody I know who's ever spoken in front of a group of people has experienced to some extent, mild or even severe. And I think it's worth diving into a little bit with our friend Evan here. So Evan, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Craig.
Absolutely. Before we dive into our conversation, let's first hear a word from our sponsors who make this show possible. Looking to take your shop to the next level of quality service, team culture, and overall profitability? At the Institute, we provide personalized coaching that aligns with your goals of financial stability, excellent customer service, and employee satisfaction. Our priority is helping you establish significant and sustainable progress. We work with you to create strategies that reduce the stress of running your business, improve your quality and performance, and optimize your profitability. Experience the benefits of professional coaching by visiting wearetheinstitute.com/business-assessment. Hey friends, as you know, I'm a proud member of the AutoFlow team, and let me tell you, we've changed how business is done for auto shops everywhere. We support your client experience before, during, and after the work is done. Imagine this. Timely updates sent directly to your clients, branded digital vehicle inspections, and seamless communication from start to finish. That's why shops love AutoFlow. And hey, with those 5-star reviews rolling in, you'll wonder how you ever managed without us. Take an important next step and take your auto shop to the next level. Visit www.autoflow.com. Get on board with an AutoFlow trial. Are you ready to meet your perfect auto repair shop management software partner? Well, say farewell to the days of transactional relationships and hello to a true partnership that elevates your business. The #1 all-in-one solution is AutoLeap. You're not just getting software, you're gaining a dedicated ally committed to your success. AutoLeap will help you sell more, save time, and delight your customers at every turn. From scheduling appointments to creating estimates, generating invoices, managing technicians, and seamlessly syncing with QuickBooks to keep your records updated, experience the difference a true partnership makes. Visit AutoLeap.com and book a demo today. AutoLeap, your trusted partner for success. Want to see your auto repair shop thrive? Are you looking to drive more customers to your auto repair shop? Let ShopDog Marketing be your guide. Our customer-first approach, combined with AI-driven creative content, ensures top rankings. Dominate mobile first and voice search with our specialized expertise. Reach out to ShopDog Marketing today and start growing your business. Don't miss out on this chance to boost your business. Visit shopdogmarketing.com. Inbound has exclusively served independent auto repair shops with expert communication solutions for years. Our robust VoIP platform ensures you stay connected while our industry-leading AI analytics take your business to the next level. We provide the tools you need to understand your customers and optimize every interaction. Choose Inbound for proven expertise and unmatched innovation. Visit callinbound.com and discover the difference we can make. Okay, we're back, and with me is Evan Wisner, and as we mentioned, we are talking about imposter syndrome. That sense and feeling, that voice in your head that says you are not qualified to speak on this, or to talk about this, or to teach this thing, or whatever it is that you're out there doing. Oh, imposter syndrome can be crippling, and I've experienced it myself. Evan, this is a topic that we've discussed very briefly beforehand, but I know it's something that you agree. It's something pretty much everyone we know has experienced to some extent, and there's some reasons for imposter syndrome.
Yeah, most definitely. one of the big things that comes up with speaking is there is a level of why me? Why am I the person speaking? And sometimes that's a real question. I don't know, man. Like, why am I up here? I don't know.
If no one else
I
is
don't know.
standing up, I need to do something here.
Someone comes walking down the street and they point a finger at you and they're like, why you? And you're like, I don't know, why me? Any level of you have that question of like, why am I sharing this information? Why am I communicating? Why am I here? And the imposter syndrome, it connects closely to that of you're not supposed to be here.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you don't
fear
belong
that I'm
here.
not supposed to be. Why am I the one doing this? Why am I the person that's sharing this information or being asked to discuss these things in this way? And some of it there's a lot of things that can play into imposter syndrome, but that's essentially where it comes into is this identity of what you are communicating. Of who, if that makes sense.
It does. Well, here's the thing with my own story, working within my industry, relatively unknown individual. I grew up in a family business, and then I met great boss, my boss, Chris Cloutier at AutoFlow. Funny story on that. I've told parts of it before, but he was a keynote speaker at a major event. And that was the first exposure first time I ever even saw him and heard him. And it's okay. Yeah. He's talking about a topic that actually is related to the part of the industry that I'm moving into with technology. And I made him a LinkedIn connection while he's up there speaking because it was so effective, right? Now, Chris is an introvert and he will tell you that, but he was great on stage. He's been a 20-year Toastmaster veteran, all these things. But here's the thing. Chris is the kind of guy who develops people. And I could articulate myself well. I could discuss things in front of a group of people. I've told some of the stories about how he recommended I go to Toastmasters after a particular venue where I just never stopped talking. We discussed that in the episode titled Shut Up on this show. Talk about pausing and breathing. Yes, and other things. But the point is, Chris took the effort to bring me into smaller events for a while and give me small portions of presentations, which was a really great mentor thing for him to do for me. And then as those smaller shows and got bigger parts, it then led to larger venues with larger rooms. The first time going into some of what I would say are the more prestigious and larger events, I was so nervous to be in that room because those big events, I've been the person sitting in those very seats on the opposite side of the room, being the learner. And that never stops, of course. But the point is, my degree of respect for the people in the room was elevated so high. Like, this is where people go to learn elite information. I need to bring elite information. I don't have elite information. I just have all this stuff I've learned over a period of several years, and I'm just me.
Why me?
Why me? And so I wanted to overcomplicate the snot out of everything to prove how smart I was and how much I belonged there. And that was the wrong approach. And as me and Chris were developing our presentation on that, he's reviewing things with me. So, Chris is brilliant with this stuff. He's like, you're overcomplicating it. You're overcomplicating it. You're overthinking it. You're overthinking it. And it's like, but these people already know these things. They must know those things because little me, know those things too. So why would I want to get up there and talk about something I think that anybody should know because I know them? And I guess it's just the wrong approach is what I've realized. And you just don't get to know the impact you're going to have. But that's imposter syndrome. And my nerves, Evan, going into that particular event that I'm referring to, it was months where I would have disrupted sleep.
Oh, yeah.
Thinking about
for
that.
Sure. No, for sure. That's real small T trauma, we call that. Like,
interesting.
That was like a really socially and personally difficult and uncomfortable event to like experience. And so like that can really disrupt, like your brain's like, all right, I gotta think about this. I gotta process through some of that stuff. Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And that was just leading up to the event. The event went really well. I mean, there's a few, I still remember some of the mistakes I made.
Oh, definitely. Man, I feel
but
like
it was really good. It always goes a little bit better than you anticipate, and you get some positive feedback. And This is one of the symptoms that I've realized is full-fledged imposter syndrome. There's a hesitancy that I had to even accept positive feedback. I'm more willing to accept the critical feedback from Toastmasters and actually feel like I need to ask for more of that. Does that make sense?
It does. And okay, are you familiar with the Dunning Krueger effect?
Yes, it's the inverse of this, though, isn't it? Where you think you know a lot more. Is that right?
Technically, like the Dunning Krueger effect is this idea, right? You know,
Okay.
it's like communication of this idea, and they've looked at like both aspects of it. So to sort of summation here is the idea that people who don't know a lot about something often believe that they are an expert in that particular thing. And then experts in a particular thing know so much about that thing that they don't think they know very much about it because they realize how much they don't know. And there's like a point where you get to where you realize how much you don't know. And then you can have that definite feeling of, oh man, like I thought I was good at this. And it's not that you're not. It's just that you're like, wow, there's so much more. I didn't realize it. I experienced this. Oh man, I experienced this working in the special operations community because I was like, I want to be there. I want to go. And then you're there and everybody is really good at what they do. And everybody is expected to perform and operate at this high. And I'm like, I don't feel like I'm supposed to be here. That's a real feeling. Of like, I felt like I had earned it and I had done the work and I had put it in. But at the same time, then I'm like next to people who I met individuals who had spent 20 years in combat arms during, you know, the war in like post 9/11 and before. I like career military. And I'm just like, I'm not in the same club. I don't feel like I'm an interloper, right? That feeling of I don't belong here and I shouldn't necessarily, I don't really have anything to say. The catch to this, my job was literally to tell them stuff because as an analyst, that's what you do is, hey, I found all this stuff and here's stuff you need to know. Here you go. Now you tell us the orders and we go do it. You know, this is the information you asked for. Here you go. And our job is to advise the commander. And so there's this element of then you got to be able to, you literally do have to know stuff that is really important that they need to know. And you have to tell it to them. So I had like a crash course in that in my life.
Interesting. Well, in that community, I'm curious. You tell me if this is accurate. My assumption would be that those who really are in that special forces, special operations community probably appreciate someone who comes in with an attitude like what you were describing versus the guy who's really certain of the fact that he absolutely belongs there. Would that be true? Or is there sometimes that ego is like kind of...
The best answer I could give to you is that it takes all kinds of perspectives there's all kinds of types of people, all kinds of ways of thinking to be in those communities. Like I met such a wide range of them. The willingness to never quit, to go on, and recognizing that in your peers is what they are looking for. That they don't want people who have quit in them, that you have to kill me, you can't beat me. And that's like the entire mentality. And that's what you want. And but like that lives in everybody, right? Like that lives in everybody. A little piece of that is there, but whether or not you chased it down, whether or not you found out.
Interesting. Yeah. One of the elements of the Dunning Krueger effect specifically.
Oh man, I got way off topic there.
No, I'm going back into this because I'm thinking on the confidence gap. And that's basically what we're dealing with here.
Like a little bit of why imposter syndrome is good is because it's telling you that you're wise enough to know that you don't know all of it.
Yes, exactly.
That that's an element of, I feel like I don't know enough to be here. And in a way, that's true of everyone, right? Do you remember when you were a kid and you'd like look at adults and be like, man, I can't wait to like have it all figured out. Yeah. And then you're an adult and you're like, oh, everybody was just lying.
Still waiting.
Everybody was just making it up as they went. And it's true. That's what everybody does. That's what lives are, is you're just making it up as you go. Yeah. But you don't know that. You're like, oh yeah, I'll figure it out. I'll know how life works.
No, it's funny though. When it comes to a speaking element like this, and maybe this is probably very different than the special forces things, but it's speaking engagements in automotive repair. Look, like there is what we assume people know is often greatly exaggerated. they don't have the same experiences you had with that thing, even if they know something about that thing. I mean, this is all things like special operations community, automotive repair, the people who are in those cultures, in those communities, you're all having some very shared experiences that have a lot of similarities. There's no question on that. That's just part of the nature of the thing. Everyone has a different role, and everyone's experiences with the public and everyone's experience with the technology is all very different. And the thing that for me very much helped get out of that feeling of that imposter syndrome is this recognition that what I know about the thing from my perspective is what makes it unique. And my stories about the way I engaged the thing or the spirit of the thing that I'm talking about is what makes it hopefully impactful to another person. And that's all you can really hope for, is that your experience with that thing or what you're observing or analyzing or trying to communicate is going to reach them. And that has to be enough. If that by itself isn't enough, that would probably...
It doesn't have to be enough.
Question.
It's all you can do.
It's all you can do. Yeah, it's what you're there for.
Because like you can have the perfect message and you can deliver it in the perfect way, and it can be very important and people need to hear it, and they're not ready to. It's just not the way it needed. There was something that had to have been different, and it just wasn't. And that's one of those things that when you're speaking, you're always trying to do the best that you can. And sometimes you have to try harder. Sometimes you got to go back and do it again. Sometimes it's another conversation. It's dusting the speech off and fixing it up and moving on.
But that's the thing. So one of the things in our industry, we have technicians and technical trainers. And I would wager, fortunately, my brother, he's the technical guy. I've been more of the communications and the sales side of things, the human relation elements of the industry. But the technical training, that to me has always struck me as a more intimidating portion of the industry to be an educator or a speaker on, because if you get a technical matter wrong in front of other technical experts, they pounce on it.
Oh yeah, it's cutthroat, man. Oh no, for real,
yes.
real. And like, I know, I get that. Oh yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And so I don't know how to help in those cases other than, look, this is what's worked for me. And if you are breaking it down into this is what's worked for me, and it has really worked for you, that's enough. Everyone should know this, especially in the technical side. There's a lot of schools of thought and a lot of different things, and there's a lot of different approaches to things. Your approach is what you're there to talk about. And for some people, that also will be enough. And others are going to think their approach is better.
All right. Rule that it took me learning the hard way a bunch of times to like finally start to focus on this. Sometimes I am here to share something, but I am almost always there to learn something.
Yes.
And so there's some times where I've had it where I had planned a speech and I was going to give the speech. I felt like it was relevant, topical, whatever it happened to be. And I was going to give it. And then it just didn't feel like that was it. That was the right one. If that makes sense.
It does make sense. Yeah, no, there's other times where engagement's occurring in a room and the conversation tips towards something. There is someone who has positive input, and it's creating engagement with the rest of the audience. And that's a precious and beautiful thing to embrace, not to squash, right? And there's all this stuff, but it's interesting. But no, the point that I want to make on this for people is that, imposter syndrome is a very real thing. It's absolutely normal to experience it. The question, I guess, that I would think, and see if you agree with this, Evan, as I air this out, it's not about you. It's not about you. It's not about you. It's about your audience. And you are making assumptions about their perceptions of you. And that's wrong. If you can just turn it around a little bit and focus on the message that you just want to deliver, hopefully to their benefit, that's enough.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's the counter perspective that definitely needs to be looked towards as an example of, hey, what am I there to give, to share, to help, to take from what has been given to me and like to give back in some way? And I definitely think that's a huge focus. Also an element of, you have to find the balance of this is about me and this is about them. And that sometimes is the harder part.
It's not like you don't matter. You kind of
do. You do. And that answers that, and part of that imposter syndrome too, of like, why am I here? I am here because I'm me. what is that? What does that entail? Because I know these things and I have this experience and I can communicate about these things, et cetera, whatever it happens to be. And so then you're like, you feel less like an imposter and more, oh yeah, I'm supposed to be here. I am me. I am here for a reason.
Also, the balance that's weird. Go ahead. No, please.
No, also sometimes that can be a really healthy thing of I don't belong here. Like someone who's I was trying to fit in this space that I don't belong, I don't want to be a part of. That can be a really healthy awareness too.
Interesting. Now, so here's the thing. This is where I'm going with this.
Yeah, sorry, I sidetracked.
No, you don't. No, I sidetracked myself. Thank you very much. The balance, as you were referring, the balance is important because I've seen out of balance a number of times in a number of different ways. And that goes back to one of my initial points here too, is the credentials. I see this question a lot from new speakers, like how much of my expertise, how much do I tell them about my credentials or my doctorate in this or that, or in my industry, which ASE certifications you have and what level you are and all the things. Do you list these things? Do you tell people about this stuff? Do you tell them how long you were in school and what you studied and what your grades are? Like, where does this end in order to establish yourself as a credible speaker of the subject?
That is as broad of an answer as it was a question.
Yeah, well, where's that level? And this is debatable, right? I've seen many people disagree on this. And I've seen recent examples. We've had area directors come into the Toastmasters Club and tell us what their title is, what their position is, how long they've been at this thing, and they've achieved this level and that level. And I think we're about a minute into the speech, and I haven't actually heard anything yet that matters. Because here's my thought. They belong there giving me a speech because they have something to offer. That's enough. That's what I feel. Let's get to the message.
I'm just considering what you said because part of it is culture, that we have created a professional culture around status and around all the letters and acronyms and all the things that come before or after your name that give you prestige, give you status. That is like a huge part of business culture. And so sometimes it's just like you have to understand how it's an art, it's a balance to finding out how professional do I need to seem for the environment that I am in. When it comes to things like I put all of these letters here. I mean, they're all real. It's a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology, an associate's in applied science and intelligence operations, and a master's in social work. And like all of those things are degrees that I have. I know so many people who have the same thing. It's not one of those things of I don't feel like it gives me anything, but in certain circles, at least having a particular degree or having this thing is what is required for entry. I needed it to go into that circle. So like academia, like no one in academia is going to listen to you if you don't have higher or are pursuing higher learning degrees, because that's that world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then I think of people like Shane has completed so many certifications and like he made it a game. He just went and found, I can get certified in this and I can get this. And it has like, it's just like row after row of like letters after his name. He did it literally for that point. And he doesn't have a degree. And he's one of the smartest people I know that is like at the top of his field, great at what he does. He's got all these ones that he just went and got because he's like, this is awesome. Like I could just get all these letters. But like he recognizes none of it really matters. It's the experience that he has put into it. He has just been really good at what he did. And so it depends on your industry, right? You know,
he's just one of those speakers too, to use him as an example. And we have several examples in our club of people that when they get up there and they can just talk, they can just talk.
Oh yeah. Shane by far. Fantastic. We should have him on.
Oh, he's going to. Yes. Oh, yeah. I want to do an episode on improv.
Oh, for sure. I was actually thinking about taking this class.
Dude.
I literally just talked to him the other day. I was like, hey, I think I might take the January improv class because I like need to do something.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I need to do something.
Engaging humor on that. I think it's such a great thing. Yeah. Folks that listen to this show, improv is a major component of my home Toastmaster Club, Grand Rapids Toastmasters. We really do have a rip-roaring, laughing good time and many meetings thanks to improv culture. That is a big part of our club meetings. But no, that's interesting. That's a good example too, Evan, because I think it helps clarify where I'm at in this too. We have an industry that's really thrives on some level of voluntary credentials, but it isn't necessarily, I don't know. Let me ask this. You're not really specifically an automotive person. Are you familiar with ASE?
I believe I am, but
That
I
little
would
blue
definitely
seal
like
there. Yeah, it's got a symbol ASE. It's the highest level of credentials that we have in the industry. And you're demonstrating a point. Like, one of the things we struggle still with is helping the public become aware of what that is.
Yeah. Well, this is awesome, but nobody knows that this is awesome.
Correct.
But like within the industry, everybody knows.
Yeah.
And that is one of those things where I tell people of, like you said, when you're putting your credentials, you're having something explained, that use that. If it's important for the industry you're in, for sure, 100%. Like, I would want to know, like, that this technician that is certified to do these things and has done a whole bunch of hours and time and energy and effort,
studied
and, like, knows the system. Yeah,
meets this
100%.
baseline minimum.
Yeah, tell me. Tell me. I was like, you are an expert. I trust you because, like, for
you're
real.
operating.
And some of that is just, it's like in the industry, the people who know the stuff, but like when you're outside of it, you don't.
Correct. Yep. And that's one of our big concerns. Yeah. It's a complicated issue. But back to the speaking point, for those that experience this themselves, I guess we've given a few tips on this, but one of the things that I think is really kind of critical for this is just becoming comfortable receiving positive feedback. Practice. Toastmasters, great place to do it. You will receive positive feedback as well as critical feedback. But the ability to accept the positives is really key. Like I was saying earlier, one of the things that for me, I would, at my extremes, still discount the positive feedback that people have, because my brush off answer is, oh yeah, they're just being nice. Because people are actually more default nice and will potentially more likely BS you with false positive feedback than their true feedback. That's a perception I carry. That's the real good feedback is something. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. There's an element of, I have to think about this for a second, because I feel like I should have interrupted you. So
no, that's okay. I got my point through. But here's the thing: the positive self-talk is the other side of the coin. There's the feedback from others, but saying it to yourself, because I feel like the most negative voice is still yours. It isn't someone else. The most positive voices might be some of the other nice folks in there, but that positive self-talk element is kind of an important piece.
Right. So an important element, thank you. You like brought me back to the little train that had taken off from the station. You ran me down on horseback and threw me back out, and I appreciate it, Craig. When it comes to, you said something about accepting positive feedback. And yes, that is something that a lot of people struggle with and is one of those things. But Toastmasters, it highlights accepting feedback, because people are also learning how to give feedback.
Oh,
so sometimes it's not great. Yeah. Sometimes they're struggling, or it's very harsh, or it comes across very tone deaf or whatever. And like that, but like then they get feedback that helps them understand and adjust and provide better feedback and communicate it in a better way.
It's always asked in these forums, and people it's either glowing positive or someone's just like complaining about something that they didn't like, a nuanced thing. I remember one of the funniest things is such a good piece of negative feedback, though. I have made it slide change just beforehand. So my book was out of flow with the first slide, and I was in my introduction, which I thought was going really well, and a hand shot up in the class. And I said, yes, I stopped my introduction statements, right? You have a question? This is on page 4. Yep, but it's also on this page. But the feedback in the class, of course, the book was out of sync with the slide deck. And it was fair. And I had made a stupid change at the end, and it caused confusion. And doggone it. But it was really a standout moment. But I appreciated the feedback, though. And I probably didn't need it, because the hand being raised in the middle of your introduction on the topic, not yourself, but the topic. It was a powerful point I was making, and the hand went up. Silliness. But no, positive feedback, negative feedback. People want feedback if they want to hear your true thoughts on something. So
thank you again. You got me, man. I fell off that train. You brought me right back.
I think I drove that train off.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to start paying you like an Uber for my thoughts. You're talking about feedback, but one of the things when I talk about balance is there is a point where you learn how to take feedback from which people, because I don't care what someone says to me about something If I don't know them and they're like, I hate you and I want you to die, I'd be like, well, that's rude, but I don't accept it because I don't have I know it to not be true, or I don't have a relationship with you where I need this information. When you're speaking, there's an element of what do you want to know about how you are coming across and being communicated, and communicating, and like what is being communicated. But the answer to that question is as much as possible. You want to know as much as possible about how you are being perceived, even if it's off, even if it doesn't make sense. To hear that and to have that feedback is only going to help you, even if it's to help you be like, all right, there's going to be people like that in the crowd. Like, that's a real thing. Like, it just happens sometimes. There's an element of we get to the point where you know what people isn't important for me to have feedback from, and how much do I trust it, and what people's feedback do I not I can take, but I don't necessarily have to accept.
Yeah. So my boss, Chris, and I did an episode on feedback as a Christmas gift. And in that principle that he has is like feedback, whether it's whoever it's coming from, think of it as that gift you're opening on Christmas, and you're going to receive that gift, and you're going to receive it with but you end up taking that feedback, and it doesn't mean you have to actually accept it fully. You could re-gift it or do something else, just like anything. So no, that's interesting. But go ahead.
Go ahead.
Now I was going to say, wrapping up the topic on this, I feel like the debate on how to do the introduction is still unresolved.
Of course, the topic that you've been asking me for, and I've been like bouncing around for the last 35 minutes. The answer is that is very specific to your industry and like where you are and what you want to communicate. I think that if you feel, even if it's just, hey, this is something I'm proud of, that's fine. That's an okay reason to put something down. But if you feel it is going to be useful or helpful, and like in whatever it is that you are communicating, then like you want that. You want the credentials, you want the introduction that explains the training that they have. If it is going to prepare the audience to better understand and accept what you are going to say, then do it. That takes, you got to know where that line is. You got to know exactly what is important for them to know. And that kind of falls on you as the individual, as the speaker, as the person who's going to be sharing. You have to be able to read the room, you know?
Yeah, reading the room. Yeah. No, I think that would be helpful for anyone involved in this. Yeah, but my main takeaway still is stories. Again, like those stories that you have, if you feel like you're preparing for a presentation and you just are not feeling like there's enough content, or there's this, that, or the other thing, whatever, you don't feel like you belong, fall back on your stories. Your stories are consistently the thing that are uniquely yours. You're uniquely qualified to talk about, and you can tell with ultimate authority, and no one will know any different because it's your experience. But here's the thing, that's the stuff that always has the most impact and will be the most memorable things they walk away from that class with. And if you're giving a presentation, you want to have someone walk away with something, let it be those stories. There's a reason you were selected there for whatever the talk is. Get up there, tell your stories.
I agree. That's what we're all trying to do, is share our truth, the truth of our story, our experience.
Bingo. Absolutely. No, Evan, thanks for airing this topic out with me. I think it's a fun one to go into. There's a lot more that could be uncovered. I've got another friend of mine wants to talk a lot about the Dunning Krueger topic as well. So I'm going to do another talk on that, a little bit more deep dive into the confidence gap and some of those other things, because I think there's a lot to unpack in that. But hey, once again, Evan, your expertise.
Like we got so many things.
Oh, we certainly could. This is the problem. Every time I talk with you, I feel like there's 5 more topics behind the thing that we need to go into.
This is one of those things where you can ask the listeners, be like, what things do they want us to talk about? And
yes,
they're like, yeah.
And
what do you want us to talk about?
Great point. So the main thing.
Tell me what you want to hear. I love to talk. What do you want to hear?
If you want to tell us what you want to talk about, reach out to me at speakup@craigoneal.net. Questions for Evan, put them that way too. I will happily get you in contact with him. He has a wealth of knowledge in his realm. I mean, look at those credentials.
Those will not be on here anymore because like, I am not a credential person.
I love it.
I'm just like, I'm me. Yeah.
Good stuff. And hey, folks, thank you so much for tuning in. Remember to listen up on the other shows on the Aftermarket Radio Network. We have Carm Capriato's Remarkable Results Radio, the show that started it all. And Matt Fonslow is Diagnosing the Aftermarket, A through Z. Hunt Demarest, Business by the Numbers. Brian and Kim Walker's The Auto Repair Marketing Podcast. And Chris Cotton's Weekly Blitz. Once again, thank you so much to our sponsors as well. You make this show possible. We bring these topics to our audience thanks to your support. And as always, everyone, please remember, before you go out there and speak up, listen up. Thank you.
You've been listening to Speak Up, Effective Communication with Craig O'Neill on the Aftermarket Radio Network. Follow Craig on your favorite podcast listening app and on his YouTube channel. Let him know what you'd like him to speak up about. Craig is all for advancing the automotive service aftermarket.